going on, everybody? Welcome to Catch, Hook, and Shoot. Today is Sunday, June the 9th, 2019. My name's Tom. I am your host. I want to thank everybody for listening and subscribing on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, and live every Sunday at 3 p.m. Central Time right here on Twitch. So, hope everybody's following on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and LinkedIn. On any one of those, you can find us at Catch, Hook, Shoot. And hope everybody has had a chance to check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/catchhookshoot. We've got 4 different tiers there for you guys to join, and I am going to be posting the first of the bonus episodes this month. Hopefully by next week, those bonus episodes will be up, so you guys can hopefully subscribe and check those out. Get the the benefits that go along with each one of those 4 tiers. There's a $1, $5, $10, and $20 tier. So head on over to patreon.com/catchhookshoot to check those out. And make sure you check out the Pro Wrestling Tees store at prowrestlingtees.com/catchhookshoot as well. And if you ever want to shoot me an email, it's catchhookshoot@gmail.com. And I want to mention again, the Wrestling Behind Ringside Fan Fest 2020 coming up next year, July 25th of 2020. 2 shows, 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. The Super VIP tickets are on sale now. They went on sale on Friday. Those tickets are $200 each. They include 15 photo ops, tote bag, collector cup, wristband, priority entry into both shows, and as I announced here on the show the last couple of weeks, the first stars that have been announced for the show are Paul Roma and Patriot Del Wilkes. And starting the weekend of July the 4th, actually I believe it'll be July 7th when the show drops, we will be starting the Break the Code contest for 2 VIP tickets for the WBR Fan Fest 2020. And the way that is going to work, it's called the Break the Code contest. I am going to be giving one word each week from a phrase from a wrestler, a popular phrase. It's not something too obscure, but not something not easily identified. And so I'll be giving out one word each week for a few weeks, and at the end of that time, anybody who is able to piece the phrase together in the proper order and email that in to me. I'm going to be doing it through email, catchhookshoot@gmail.com. Email your answers in, and for all correct answers received, I'm going to put the names of those people into a bowl and do a drawing right here on the show for the winner of the VIP tickets. So stay tuned for that. Like I said, that'll be starting on July 7th. So let's get into what's going on in pro wrestling this week. On Raw, we saw another interesting edition of the Firefly Funhouse. This has actually been my favorite part of Raw the last several weeks. I'm really looking forward to Bray Wyatt actually getting back in the ring and seeing his new I guess kind of new character, new direction he's been going. And this week on the Firefly Funhouse, we were introduced to Huskus the Pig. Of course, a little kind of tongue-in-cheek reference to Bray Wyatt's Husky Harris character. We also saw a new another new puppet on the show, a Vince McMahon devil puppet that was kind of funny. Main event on Raw was a match between Ricochet and Cesaro. These two are having some great matches the last couple of weeks, and I really hope they kind of build this rivalry into something with these two guys, because they really are 2 of the best going right now for WWE. And also had an appearance by The Undertaker on Raw, and basically out to cut a promo about his match with Bill Goldberg for the Super Showdown. And he pretty much got cut off mid promo there. USA Network cut to the next program that was on after that. So kind of some timing issues, it seemed like. So not sure if it was on WWE's side or on the USA Network. But Undertaker ended up getting cut off, but they did. People were able to see the rest of that promo online. And then moving on to SmackDown. Had a tag team match, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. It was a pretty good match there. I've been seeing a lot of kind of vignettes from Aleister Black the last several weeks, pretty much since the Superstar Shakeup when he got moved to SmackDown. Has not had any matches. He's basically just been like I said, showing some backstage vignettes of him talking and basically saying, somebody needs to come pick a fight with him. And WWE put out on their social media this week, just kind of some names and asking who people would like to see pick that fight with Aleister Black. Personally, I'd love to see that person be Shinsuke Nakamura. I think the two of them would put on some fantastic matches. I think it'd be a good rivalry, and I think it'd be a good way to kind of boost Nakamura back up, because as we've all seen or not seen, because he hasn't really been on TV, he's kind of fallen off ever since his rivalry with AJ Styles ended, and that's, Nakamura is one of my all-time favorite wrestlers, not just in WWE, but going back to his New Japan days and things like that. And yeah, I think it's just really kind of. I think WWE's kind of dropped the ball on him. He was going pretty strong there for a while. Had a great NXT run, great initial run on the main roster when they first brought him up. But then, like I said, after that rivalry with AJ Styles kind of died down, he just really hasn't been put in any significant rivalries since then. So hopefully, that they'll pull the trigger on that, because I think Black and Nakamura would have some great matches. Also saw on SmackDown, Alexa Bliss is the new number one contender for the SmackDown Women's Championship, so I guess she'll be challenging Bayley at the Stomping Grounds pay-per-view coming up. So apparently Alexa Bliss is finally medically cleared to get back in the ring, obviously, because she had a match on SmackDown. So and I think Alexa and Bayley can put on a pretty good match, so we'll have to see how that one turns out. Some NXT news from this past week. There's been several name changes for some new NXT stars who have just recently signed with the company. Probably the biggest one is Shane Strickland, now going by the name Isaiah Scott. For anybody not familiar with Shane Strickland, he's a former MLW World Champion. He was part of Lucha Underground as Killshot. Just a phenomenal athlete, great wrestler. So in NXT, apparently, he's going to be going by the name Isaiah Scott. Another name change in NXT is the former DJZ, formerly with Impact, and also formerly known as Zema Ion and things like that. His name now in NXT is Joaquin Wilde. So, and a couple more significant ones. Trevor Lee, also formerly with Impact, will now be going by Cameron Grimes. And Eric Bugenhagen is now just going to be Rick Boogs, apparently, so shorten his name up a bit. So yeah, that's just kind of WWE's thing. They sign guys and who have made a name for themselves on the indies and change their name. It's very common practice with WWE, with very few exceptions. I guess one exception would be Samoa Joe. They, didn't make him change his name. AJ Styles obviously got to keep his name, but guys like Kevin Owens on the Indies, he went by his real name, Kevin Steen. Why they, that's one that still kind of makes me scratch my head as far as why he had to change his name. But it is what it is. It's WWE's MO. Moving on to some MLW news, Alex Hammerstone is your first ever national openweight champion, defeated Brian Pillman Jr. in a great match for that championship. Some Impact news, it looks like TJ Perkins is back with Impact. He was at the TV tapings this week in New York. We also saw the return of Jessica Havoc on this week's TV episode, the one that should have aired on Pursuit. That's another story, but aired on Twitch this week. Returned with James Mitchell as her manager, and freed Sue Young from Rosemary. So it looks like she's getting put in the mix there with Sue Young and Rosemary, and also Taya Valkyrie was kind of mixed up in all that as well. Speaking of the issues with Pursuit, it looks like Impact is looking for a new TV deal yet again. They've only been with Pursuit since January, but apparently there have been a lot of problems, especially the last couple of weeks. Last week's show, they cut away from the main event for a commercial break and never went back. Apparently Pursuit showed like 35 minutes worth of commercials, and people didn't get to see the end of the show. And then this week, they didn't even air the new episode. They re-aired last week's episode. So a lot of problems with the Pursuit channel for Impact, so they apparently are looking for a new TV deal. And hopefully they get one. Hopefully it's on a little bit more prominent channel, because like I said, I watch Impact on Twitch. My cable provider doesn't carry the Pursuit channel. I had never even heard of the Pursuit channel until Impact announced that's where they were going to be airing the show. So hopefully they can get a little bit stronger TV deal going forward, because Impact really has become really good over the last couple of years. So hopefully they're able to find a new TV home. So let's get into WWE's latest Saudi Arabia event, Super Showdown. Overall, I thought it was a pretty good show. It wasn't anything special. For the most part, good quality matches. Um, let's get into results here. Randy Orton defeated Triple H. The 50-man battle royal, which was not really too much to watch, quite honestly. But yeah, the winner of that was NXT star Mansoor, who is from Saudi Arabia, so not really a big surprise there. I think that it had actually been rumored beforehand that he was going to win. Um, yeah, Braun Strowman defeated Bobby Lashley. Finn Balor retained the Intercontinental Championship against Andrade. Surprisingly, Shane McMahon did defeat Roman Reigns with some help from Drew McIntyre. Kofi Kingston retained the WWE Championship against Dolph Ziggler. Seth Rollins retained the Universal Championship against Baron Corbin. We did see an appearance from Brock Lesnar at the end of that match. Kind of, looked like he was going to cash in, but then Rollins kind of got the drop on him, beat him down, and the cash in never happened. So Brock Lesnar is still in possession of the Money in the Bank briefcase. Lars Sullivan defeated Lucha House Party by disqualification. Not really sure what the deal is with that whole thing, other than to try to make Sullivan just look like a monster heel. On the pre-show, the Usos defeated the Revival in a tag team match, and then the main event of the show was the Undertaker defeating Goldberg. I understand the appeal of this match. I mean, it's the Undertaker and it's Goldberg. It's two of the biggest icons of the Monday Night Wars. And like I said, The Undertaker was victorious, but Goldberg got injured pretty early on in the match, going for a spot in the corner. Was going to spear the Undertaker. Undertaker moved out of the way, and Goldberg looked like was supposed to do the fairly common shoulder to the ring post spot when a guy moves out of the way and the other guy's charging in head first. But Goldberg actually did hit head first into the ring post, busted his head open pretty bad, and you could tell the rest of the match he was pretty much out on his feet. He went for the jackhammer, couldn't fully execute it, ended up dropping the Undertaker right on the back of his head. Thankfully, the Undertaker didn't look like was any worse for wear after that. Wasn't injured or anything. But after the match, there was some fan footage that surfaced while the Undertaker was in the ring doing his normal, post-match posing and things like that. Goldberg, after he exited the ring, pretty much collapsed at ringside. They're saying he's probably got a concussion. Like I said, he was busted open pretty good, and actually hit. When the Undertaker hit him with the tombstone, he did hit his head on the mat. Looked like pretty good. So hopefully he's not injured too bad. But I have to kind of agree with what a lot of people have said online. I think it's time for Goldberg and the Undertaker both to just step away from the ring. And I know this was a match that was requested directly from the Prince of Saudi Arabia, and I know they were paid a ridiculous amount of money to make this trip and have this match. But, even The Undertaker liked somebody's comment online about, it's time to retire and things like that. So he seems like he agrees that, I mean, me personally, I think The Undertaker should have retired after the loss to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania a couple of years ago when he left the coat and the hat and the gloves in the middle of the ring. It's very symbolic that the Undertaker was done. And I think they should have left it at that. And I think the fact that they keep bringing him back for these, kind of one-off, just special attraction matches, I think it diminishes the Undertaker a little bit, and that's very hard for me to say because I am such a huge Undertaker fan, and I love any opportunity to see him. But I think it's time for the Undertaker to step away. And I like I said, I don't think it was the Undertaker's choice. I don't think this match was his idea. But he's he's a company guy. He's very loyal to the WWE and to Vince McMahon. If Vince asks him to do something, he's probably going to do it more than likely. And kudos to him for that. That shows a lot of integrity, and that's one of the main reasons the Undertaker is so respected. But I think Vince, more than anything, needs to kind of say, okay, it's time to kind of put the Undertaker to rest. So we'll have to see going forward if the Undertaker is does make any more appearances, whether it's at WrestleMania or these international shows, things like that. One interesting thing that did come out of Super Showdown is after the WWE Championship match, Dolph Ziggler was interviewed backstage and challenged Kofi Kingston to a rematch inside a steel cage. Kofi did accept, and it looks like that match is going to happen at the Stomping Grounds pay-per-view later this month. Of course, I'll have a complete breakdown and preview of that weekend. So, yeah, it looks like we're going to be having a steel cage match for the WWE title at Stomping Grounds. Getting into some other news here. Yeah, something I meant to make mention of last week, but it basically slipped my mind. I didn't put it in my notes here. Was about something about Jon Moxley and the video that came out that he put out on his Twitter page. I believe it was on May 1st, right after his WWE contract expired, right there at midnight. And there was so much speculation about this video, like, oh, WWE produced it, it's all a work. Then he had other people saying AEW could have produced it because they have the money to do something like that. And I said on this show that, nobody seemed to be considering the third option, that maybe Moxley produced the video himself just to kind of reintroduce himself as Jon Moxley to the wrestling fans. And if you listen to his interview on the Chris Jericho podcast that's gotten so much coverage the last couple of weeks, you find out that was exactly the case. He produced the video himself with a buddy of his in the movie business. He financed it himself. And so yeah, that was the case from Jon Moxley himself. He did produce that video to reintroduce himself as Jon Moxley to the wrestling world. So there you go. So let's get into some New Japan news. Talking about Jon Moxley, he is your new IWGP United States champion. His first post WWE match, he won that championship from Juice Robinson at the Best of the Super Juniors finale. Also on that same show, Will Ospreay did win the Best of the Super Juniors tournament. So getting into Dominion, that just happened earlier this morning, actually, by U.S. time. Jon Moxley had another match against Shota Umino, was victorious in that. Shingo Takagi defeated Kojima. Jushin Thunder Liger and Yoshihashi defeated Minoru Suzuki and Zack Sabre Jr. in a tag team match. Hiroshi Tanahashi, Juice Robinson, and Taguchi defeated the Bullet Club, Jay White, Chase Owens, and Taiji Ishimori in a six-man tag match. Tomohiro Ishii is your new never openweight champion, defeated Taichi. The Guerrillas of Destiny retained the IWGP Tag Team Championship against Sonata and Evil. Will Ospreay, on the heels of his Best of the Super Juniors victory, is the new IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, defeating Dragon Lee. Tetsuya Naito defeated Kota Ibushi for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship, and Kazuchika Okada retained the IWGP Heavyweight Championship against Chris Jericho. And yeah, apparently after that match, Chris Jericho just kind of went nuts, beating down Okada, did the old horse collar spot with the chair into Okada's neck. Was about to power bomb Okada through a table at ringside when Tanahashi made the save, surprisingly. So we'll have to see. Looks like they're going to build towards a Jericho Tanahashi match going sometime in the future. I would assume at their next big event. Also had an appearance by the former Hideo Itami at Dominion, back under his old ring name of Kenta, and didn't have a match, just made an appearance and basically declared himself for the G1 Climax. Also, Jon Moxley, in a promo to the audience after his match, declared for the G1 Climax as well. So all in all, sounds like it was a really good show for New Japan Dominion. So if you get the chance, definitely check that out. Some interesting stuff going on with Ring of Honor this week. I'm sure if any of you guys follow Ring of Honor or any of their stars on social media, you saw about the incident of a fan who was sitting ringside and making some kind of rude, crude, inappropriate comments to Allure, which is Velvet Sky, Mandy Leone, and Angelina Love, and they basically security person came and got this fan from ringside, took him backstage, and apparently Bully Ray had a little bit of a chat with him. Nothing violent, nothing about Bully Ray beating the guy up or anything, just, told him, basically watch his mouth. I mean, there are limits. I mean, they're when you're talking about heels, yeah, they're not meant to be like, you boo, you scream, and tell them you suck and things like that. But when you start getting into like the something that could be considered sexual harassment or something like that, which is apparently where this fan went with his heckling, that's crossing a line. I mean, yes, they're portraying characters and they're meant to be hated and booed and screamed at and things like that, but when you start taking it to a personal level and not booing the character, but uh, you know, talking to the person and getting into their personal lives and things like that. That's not okay. But I also, on the other hand, I don't think Ring of Honor handled it 100% the way that they should have. I mean, in a case like this, yes, the fan 100% is in the wrong for the things that he was saying, but he should have just been ejected from the arena and that been that. There's no call for uh, the type of I'm just going to call it an intimidation tactic that was used. I mean, it was something out of the movie Casino almost. Bringing the fan backstage, putting him in a room with Bully Ray, who is an intimidating guy. I mean, he's a very nice guy. I've met him in person. He's very gracious, very nice to his fans, but he's not somebody you want to get on the wrong side of. And it definitely was a bit of an intimidation tactic used. And Ring of Honor has put out a statement that that's not how they want things handled. So I don't think we're going to see anything else like that going forward from Ring of Honor. I haven't heard anything about any kind of disciplinary action against Bully Ray. I mean, like I said, he didn't put hands on the guy. He didn't harm him in any way. The guy wasn't, manhandled or roughed up or anything like that. So I think it's just going to be a matter of, okay, don't do that again. So, but yeah, like I said, I want to make very clear, I am definitely 100% against what this fan supposedly did. Like I said, booing the heels is one thing, but taking it to the point of, talking about their personal lives or to the point where it could be construed as sexual harassment against the individual and not the character, there's no place for that. And honestly, the guy should have just been ejected from the arena, and that should have been that. So moving on from there, NXT UK has announced their next takeover event, which will be in Cardiff, Wales, interestingly enough, on August 31st, the same day as AEW's next big pay-per-view, All Out. Now, Triple H has addressed that. He said, they've had the building booked for several months already. The All Out event had nothing to do with it as far as the date, but it's also the same date as New Japan's Royal Quest event in London in the UK. So, it, I mean, it just seems like some bad timing on NXT UK's part, I guess. If what Triple H said is true, that they've had this building and this date booked for several months, and they just made the announcement for the UK takeover. But yeah, so they're gonna pretty much be running head to head against New Japan for this event. Not necessarily head to head with AEW, just because of the time difference. So fans here in the U.S., they'd be able to watch the UK takeover in the afternoon, and then the all out event would be in the evening. So it's not a head to head direct competition, but it is on the same day. Like I said, interestingly enough. So take that for what it's worth. Like I said, Triple H said the other companies' events had no bearing on it. He said that he basically doesn't pay attention to it, which that I don't believe. I'm sorry, but if you're not paying attention or at least aware of what your competition is doing, then you're doing something wrong. But I'll leave that at that for right now. So that's pretty much everything that's been going on this past week. So what I want to talk about on the show this week is finishers, finishing moves, finishing holds, things like that. And the fact that they seem to have lost something over the last several years. Finishers really aren't finishers anymore. You see a lot of moves that were once considered, quote unquote, the most devastating move in wrestling, just as kind of transition moves now, especially, specifically like a DDT. Everybody uses a DDT nowadays at some point or another, and it's just, it's rare that you see a DDT be the end of the match anymore unless it's Andrade who uses the hammerlock DDT, or Jon Moxley who uses the what he calls the dirty deeds, the double underhook DDT. But beyond really those two, uh, DDT is just not that big devastating move. And mind you, this is a move that knocked Ricky the Dragon Steamboat out cold back in the day when Jake the Snake hit him with it on the outside of the ring. Was for a long time considered one of the most devastating moves that there were. And if you got hit with it, that was it. The match was over. Guys, would go to great lengths to avoid it. And now it's just kind of become a transitional move. Same thing kind of with the power bomb. When you had guys like Sid Vicious and Kevin Nash and Vader using that big power bomb as their finishing move. If you got hit with it, the match was over. That was it. Now it's like you see power bombs used the same way as like I was just talking about with the DDT. It has become a transitional move. You see Seth Rollins using it quite a bit. Well, not as much as he used to, but the buckle bomb, which just by the look of it, it looks like it could break somebody's neck. And you'd figure after getting hit with that, the match would pretty much be over. That's a 3 count right there. But and another one that has now become so overused with a lot of different wrestlers is the super kick. And this is a move used by going pretty far back. Gentleman Chris Adams was a big move of the Rockers, which Shawn Michaels retained as his finisher after the Rockers split up. And it was the same thing. You got hit with that super kick, and that was the match right there. Now everybody uses a super kick, and I know nowadays first person or first people you think of when you hear about a super kick is the Young Bucks, and that's their part of their gimmick. The super kick party. That's their entrance music, and I mean it's a great move. It's a flashy move. It looks really good. Guys have gotten making the sound of that move down to a science. But it's another one, you'll see 10, 12, 15 of them during the course of a match. Guy will maybe be down for a couple of seconds after taking one, but then he's right back up and they're, going back at it. I think that's another part of it is the whole selling. You don't see guys selling those big moves like you used to, like a pile driver, which isn't even allowed in WWE anymore except for The Undertaker with the tombstone. But it's just a lot of these moves where back in the day it would be, as soon as that hold was put on, it was the end. Today it's just kind of like, okay, stay down for a couple of seconds, get back up, go into the next thing. And it's become more about, I think, aesthetics than anything else, about the look of the match and how good does it look, and let's get in as many big spots as we can. And I don't necessarily mean high spots like flipping and jumping and things like that, but just big devastating spots. And it's not so much about because it all goes back to storytelling. And I'll use Jake the Snake Roberts as an example, probably the best in-ring psychologist in the history of the business. Every match he had, the whole match was leading up to him getting his opponent in a position to deliver that DDT. And once he got his opponent in that position, the match was over. And you don't see that a whole lot anymore. You don't see matches building to that one big finishing spot. Another thing you don't see too much of anymore are the submission moves. And I'm talking about like a sleeper hold. The only person you really see use a variation of a sleeper hold anymore is Samoa Joe. And I'm talking about within WWE because they're still the biggest thing out there as far as wrestling goes. But yes, Samoa Joe, Shayna Baszler, people with martial arts backgrounds you'll see use the version of a sleeper hold, which is basically a rear naked choke. But outside of that, you don't see a whole lot of people using submission holds anymore, like the sharpshooters and the figure fours. And even when you do, with the exception of Charlotte Flair with her figure eight, when you see somebody in a submission hold like that, they're one way or another, you pretty much know they're going to get out of it, whether it's breaking the hold, reversing the hold, getting to the ropes. You don't see anybody really get caught in a submission other than, like I said, with Samoa Joe and Shayna Baszler. I just think the finishers are something that has been lost over the last several years in pro wrestling, and there's so many false finishes now with matches, and it does add to the excitement, but I think sometimes it's overdone, and I think a lot of these moves have been diminished because they're being overused. And I'm not saying multiple wrestlers can't use the same hold. I'm not saying that at all, but it does kind of take away from it when you see somebody, like I said, like an Andrade who uses a DDT as his finisher. Yeah, he hits it, and most of the time will get the pin. Once in a while, depending on who he's wrestling against. Like a good example against Finn Balor at Super Showdown. He hit the hammerlock DDT. Balor was able to kick out. That adds to the drama, to the storytelling of the event, and is supposed to speak to the toughness of the other wrestler, or the resilience of the other wrestler. But then you see other guys, pretty much anybody like the Miz. One of his signature moves is a DDT while his opponent's on his knees, which is a great looking move. But then it's not. That's never the finish of the match, and there's lots of examples of that out there. The Rock used to do a great DDT, but that was never the finish of the match. So I think it just kind of diminishes the I guess the dramatic aspect of it, or however you want to look at it. I think it takes away from those holds and those moves when you see them so many times, and it doesn't end the match. But that's just kind of my take on it. That's stuff that I've noticed just throughout the evolution of wrestling over the last 35 plus years that I've been watching it. And I'm not saying, I'm not trying to be critical. I'm just stating it how it is. Wrestling has changed. Finishers aren't necessarily the finish anymore, and whereas today you see 10, 12, or even more false finishes throughout the course of a match. You didn't see that 20, 30 years ago. Only on like rare occasions for really, really big matches, like Steamboat and Macho Man at WrestleMania 3. I think there was something like 17 false finishes in that match, or maybe more. I actually sat down and counted one day, but I don't remember what the total was. But and that was one of those things that contributed to making that match so great. But now it's become kind of commonplace. So that's why you see. I think that's why you see so many more high spots now, and wrestlers, doing more and more crazy spots or high impact spots, because the stuff that worked back in the day, it's not as effective anymore because it's been done so much. And like I said, that's just that's the evolution of the business. That's how the business has changed. And a lot of people want to go off on tangents and rant and rave about how horrible the business is now compared to how it was 20 years ago. And I'm not saying that at all. I still love professional wrestling, and I think stuff like this does have its place, like in the match this past NXT Takeover just last week with Gargano and Adam Cole. They had a lot of those false finishes and a lot of those big high impact spots, and it was a fantastic match. So all this stuff, it does have its place, and it does make for some really good matches. I just think it, like I said, it's the way that the business has evolved, and it's moved away from the days of where the finisher being the finish once it's hit, or once it's applied one time. It's used for, I guess, probably for dramatic effect, to extend matches a little bit longer sometimes, and it is what it is. I'll say it one more time. It's the evolution of the business. This is where the pro wrestling business has gone and where it is at today. So, take it or leave it, like it, don't like it. Like I said, I absolutely love the business, and I try to, change along with it. The business changes with the times, and you got to change with the business. Well, whether you're in the business or whether you're a fan, you have to accept things are going to change, things are going to evolve, and that's just the way it is. So that's pretty much all I got for this week. Again, thanks everybody for tuning in right here on Twitch every Sunday at 3 p.m. and for listening and subscribing on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Just search Catch, Hook, and Shoot on any one of those. You'll be able to find the show. And thanks to everybody for following on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and LinkedIn. On all of those, it's at Catch Hook Shoot. Make sure you check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/catchhookshoot. I will be getting those bonus episodes posted probably by next Saturday is my goal. So, once those are posted, hope some of you guys will start subscribing so you can check those bonus episodes out. We're going to have for the $1 tier, a wrestler profile. For the $5 tier, you get the wrestler profile and the history of a championship. And for the $10 tier, a wrestler profile, history of a championship, and a history of a territory. So, I'll have those 3 bonus episodes up within the next week or so. So, hopefully, some of you guys will head on over to patreon.com/catchhookshoot to check those out. And make sure you check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/catchhookshoot. And if you ever want to shoot me an email, it's catchhookshoot@gmail.com. And let me mention one more time about the WBR FanFest 2020 coming up next year, July 25th, 2020. Head over to WrestlingBehindRingside.com. Pick up your super VIP tickets that are on sale right now. $200 each. You get 15 photo ops, tote bag, collector cup, wristband, priority entry into both shows. So it's gonna be an awesome time. Next year in Louisiana. Don't forget, starting July 7th, I will be starting the Break the Code contest for 2 VIP tickets. So make sure you're following along and listening and keeping track of the word of the day that I'm going to be dropping every week. Put all those words together, email them to me in the correct order, and you will have the opportunity to win 2 VIP tickets. Now, the tickets that I'm giving away do not include travel or accommodations. I just want to I know I keep mentioning that every week. I want to make sure it's clear. The tickets that you're winning get you access to the event and your photo ops and things like that. But you have to cover your own travel to Hammond, Louisiana, and your own accommodations. So, but keep listening for that. Like I said, starting on July 7th. So with that, I hope everybody has a good week, and I'm going to sign off here, and I will talk to you guys soon.